Hi guys, I'm Phil Town from Rule Number One Investing, and today I want to talk to you about how much of your money should you be saving and spending and investing. And here's the thing. First off, before I get into this, I am not your advisor, and this is for education and entertainment purposes only, okay? So let's get that straight. And you should always go check with a professional advisor before you do anything crazy, okay? So here's we go.
Does the amount of money I save, spend, and invest depend on how much money I'm currently making?
Okay, really important question, right? Obviously, it's somewhat dependent on how much money you're making to start with, but let's assume that you're just making a living, right? You're getting through and you're paying credit card debt or you're paying school debt. So how much money you save, spend, and invest depends a lot on how much you have to put out to other people for debt that you've incurred. So the first thing I want you to think about is the standard stuff every financial planner is going to tell you to do, and that is get rid of the debt. Now there's two kinds of debt. There's bad debt and there's good debt. Good debt is the stuff you get from maybe a house loan or something where you're paying 3%. That's pretty good debt. And if you can build a portfolio that's growing at 15% a year, then you probably want to hang on to that debt, okay, and not pay it off and just keep the money working. But bad debt is typically consumer debt. That's the stuff you got on your credit cards. You miss one payment and you're at 20+% per year. And I got to tell you, if you're making 20% a year, you're killing it. So the first thing to do to make a bunch of money on your money is to stop giving someone else a bunch of money on theirs. So you want to just get rid of that consumer debt. So you guys, I was pretty lucky about the way I started off, because I had, when I started investing, I already lived about 13 years just in a sleeping bag, and everything I owned was sort of in a small bag about this big. So keeping the belt tight was already baked into me. I didn't spend a lot of money initially. I could save money as much as possible and reinvest it. And that's the key here. I'll tell you a real quick story about how much you should save, spend, and invest, all right? Warren Buffett was on an elevator. I don't know if this is totally true, but let's just say it is. Warren Buffett was on an elevator in Omaha, and there were a bunch of insurance guys in the elevator with him, and there was a penny laying on the floor. And all the insurance guys were sitting there looking at the penny, wondering if Buffett, who's famous for just saving every penny, whether he was going to pick it up, right? And Buffett didn't pick it up. They get to his floor, he steps off the elevator, looks at the guys, bends over, picks up the penny, and as he walks away, he goes, "Beginning of the next billion." And the truth is, it is the beginning. And when you start to actually get high rates of return, if you were getting, say, gigantic rate of return, like 25% a year, I promise you, it becomes an organic part of who you are to save money. You won't spend it when you know how much you can make on it. But since you don't know how much you can make on it, spending it seems to make sense, because if you stick it away in a savings account making 0.012% per year, it's nonsense. You know it's never going to change your life. So the critical thing for you to do is to learn how to invest. The saving, the spending, the investing is going to come very naturally to you once you know how to make money on money.
How can I go about budgeting how much I have to save and invest?
Hey, budgeting is important, It's hard to do. I'm basically terrible at it, but it's important, and it's more important when you have nothing than when you have a lot of money, and that's pretty obvious. So here's one of the things that I like to do with some of my students to get them thinking about how much they have to save and invest, is to do your number. And we have a little program you can download called Your Number that helps you figure out how much you're going to have in the can when you retire. And I got to tell you, if you're 45 years old right now, and you can kind of adjust from there depending on how old you are, if you're 45 and you want to live at like a $50,000 a year lifestyle in 20 years when you retire, you need to have over $2 million saved so that you can put it away in bonds and live on that money for the rest of your life. That's an enormous amount of money. You know how many people are going to get there from my generation? I don't know, 3% maybe? So before we really think about budgeting so much, I think a critical thing is to figure out how much are you going to have put away, and then work that back, and the budget should flow out of that a lot better.
Should all of my savings be invested instead of sitting in a savings account? Or is there still a time and place for holding on to my money?
Yeah, good question. Holding on to my money, yeah. Well, let's just have it as a basic fundamental point of view that we're gonna wanna have some emergency money, and that's gonna be the first money you put away, okay? So you gotta get money there in case you get laid off, in case you have an illness in your family, in case something else happens, they have a big expense. You gotta have some cash there. So we don't wanna have it just, all the way to the firewall. Now, I'm saying that in part because all financial advisors are trained to say that. But when we consider what it's like to start with nothing and have nothing saved, and then all of your money is being saved so you can have 6 months of capital to live on if there's an emergency, it's like, you know what? You're gonna have to get a little more aggressive, I think, when you're just starting out. So I'll tell you what I did. I put it in there. I started working every penny I had and tried to build that money. One of the reasons that I could do that is because the investments I was putting the money into were liquid investments. That is, I could get my money back out quickly. So if you're starting out and you can put your money into stocks, one of the advantages of stocks, say, over real estate or say farmland or something like that, is that you can put it, you can put every penny out there into it because your emergency fund is the money sitting in the stock market. You can liquidate it on a one-day notice, get it back out, and then you've got it available to you. Now, would you maybe have to liquidate it at a bad time? Yeah, that's possible. But look, if you're starting with very little money, you're gonna have to take some chances. So I would say, if you're starting very little, then put it all in there and keep it liquid. And if you have more, if you've got something there that you're actually working with, say $100,000 or so, then you can put away some money for 6 months and just have that sitting in cash.
How can I find out how much money I need to save or start investing in order to retire by a specific age?
Well, you really need a calculator that's built to give you the right answer. And most of them aren't. They don't really take into consideration the impact of inflation on the money you're about to retire on. And I gotta tell you, inflation is brutal. In our podcast, Invested, I talk with my daughter Danielle about the impact of inflation on the amount of money she's trying to save, the amount of money she's trying to hold for retirement. So the really good calculator that I just couldn't find one, so I built one. And it's on our website at rule1investing.com. It's called the Retirement Calculator. So go download it and you can get a really good idea of what it's gonna take you depending on how much money you wanna live on. So there's a place where you can put in how much money you would like to live on in your retirement, and it will build for you how much you're gonna need by a certain age. Hey, if you haven't seen my other videos about how to take control of your financial life and your finances, then take a look. I'd like to hear from you, and let's do this, let's talk about this. What percentage of your money do you currently save, spend, and invest? Break it down for us and put it in there. Give ourselves a little discussion. So leave a comment below with your answer and I'll be sure to follow up with you. So thanks for watching, you guys. Now go play. So you guys, if you enjoyed this video and you kind of feel it was valuable in teaching you more about investing, then subscribe to my channel and share the video with your friends or anybody else who might benefit from this information. We're out here to do a revolution and we need your help. And by the way, to learn more about how to start investing, just download my free Quick Start Guide. It's awesome. Just by clicking the link on the screen or in the description.